Hello, everyone. Today we have with us Rachel Matos, founder and CEO, Blue Lotus Collective. Hello, Rachel. Welcome to the show. And really appreciate taking out time for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Rachel, before we start discussing about what we do, some social media strategies from you. It would be great if you could introduce yourself and your company for our viewers.
So I'm Rachel Matos. I am the founder and CEO of Blue Lotus Collective, as you mentioned. It's a digital marketing agency. We focus on social media strategy and execution for brands and small businesses alike. I'm also, which we're not going to talk too much about today, but if it's something that your viewers would want to look into a little bit more, I'm a partner in an e-commerce business as well. It's a subscription box service called My Cajita, and we feature artisan products from Mexico. So I'm very busy, booked and busy every day with both businesses.
I understand. I mean, that was my next question. I did look at that. The other business you have. What exactly is a subscription in a box? If you could, talk more about like the model and that business of yours.
So for the subscription box company, basically, there are so many people who really love to collect artisan products or don't have access to buy some of these artisan products. I mean, in Los Angeles, it's a little bit different, but if you're in other parts of the country, it's not that accessible to you. And so if you want to receive something authentically made by Mexican artists every month, we offer packages. So you can get something delivered to your door every month. And we try to keep it very much like something that that would be useful in the home, like, glassware, trays, fashion, things like that. Mostly focusing on things that you can use for entertaining and cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you would just pay a monthly subscription. Like, our lowest one is $39.99. And every single month we send out something and you're able to skip. If you're not interested in that product, you can skip.
Okay.
And, it doesn't affect anything. And then, just, or you can skip, or you can replace it with something else that we would have as an option. And that's also something that we've been doing, is that we've been offering, like, if you're a new member, you may want to skip something, and then you saw something you really liked that we sent out months ago or a year ago, then you can get that one to replace.
Right.
So that's pretty much, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, for explaining that. Rachel, coming back, to Blue Lotus Collective, who is your ideal client?
Who was my ideal client, or who would be my client?
Who would be your ideal client?
I really love, lifestyle, home decor clients, like, and fashion. I love things like anthropology.
Mm-hmm.
Every time when I think of who would be my ideal client, that client would look like that.
Okay.
Would sell beautiful pieces like that. Yeah, I think that would be it, because it's just like a very feel good place. I would love to be part of something, like anthropology, even though I know they have in-house. So something like that. I love boutiques, places that sell like really beautiful home decor and textiles and things you wouldn't find in like mass produced stores.
Right. When it comes to social media platforms, do you have a favorite?
For to consume, I think my favorite right now is TikTok. I have a very silly sense of humor, so I get a kick out of watching it. It's not like exactly my favorite for creating content, because it is a lot of work, I feel, but I actually do enjoy it. I think it's feel good, content.
Yeah, I mean, as far as creating content is concerned, since you talked about TikTok, I think it's a very tricky space, right? I mean, there are brands and niches where, of course, TikTok can be very, very helpful. But then, creating the right content on TikTok, kind of, is not that simple.
No, it's not that simple. And it's very time consuming, TikTok, especially if you're a business and you want to start, producing content on TikTok. I have a lot of people that are like, yeah, we'll do like a video a week. And I'm like, it's not going to work with TikTok. When I write the strategies out, it's daily, so we really have to come up with how are we going to, because not all companies and brands are able to do the original content. So how can we be creative so that they can have something every single day on TikTok? Because that's really how you have to use that platform. So it can be a bit tricky for some businesses and brands on how are they going to keep having something produced every day. We even have, because it's such a small team at My Cajita, we have the same issue that it's like, we have to keep producing content every day. You really need someone who's going to be just doing that for you, and creating strategy and coming up with ideas so you can prepare your editorial calendar. That way it's not so daunting that you're like, what am I going to do now? What am I doing this week?
Right.
So you can stay consistent.
Right. So TikTok, as per you, would make sense if, you're creating content daily. Right.
Yeah.
Well, tell us your favorite client story.
My favorite client story is actually, it was an event. It was called NostalgiaCon. And it was like a huge conference, summit of 80s nostalgia and, retro products. And there was, I think I had just way too much fun at that event, even though I was working in and we were doing all the marketing, just to kind of go back and relive some of that stuff. The best part of it were the concerts. They had like, 80s hip hop people there, like Dougie Fresh and things like that. I mean, it was just so I had so much fun. I was supposed to be working, but when the concerts went on, I was like, I'll be right back. So I had a lot of fun with that because I got to live every day, live through it every day. Every time they were like, oh, we got this person to join us. We got that person, I would say that was the most fun one that I've done. I enjoy the clients that are events clients the most.
Right.
Yeah, because I love to see how you're just building up to that day. And then that day comes and, all boots on the ground and we're all, on our side, our team is just creating content everywhere. And then it's just like an adrenaline. It's a lot of fun for me. And then you come down, put the report together and it's just like, wow, we did that. I really enjoy those a lot more than, the steady and the stable ones are great, but the events are definitely a lot of fun.
Thank you for sharing. How do you leverage content marketing in your marketing strategy?
How do we leverage it for Blue Lotus?
Yeah, for Blue Lotus.
To be honest, I struggle like a lot of marketing agencies with that because we're so busy creating the content for the clients. So we do have an Instagram page that I haven't been feeding content into it as much because of lack of time. So, which is something that this year I really want to work on. I really want to work on developing TikTok for the agency as well. I do have someone in mind who could possibly do that for us, but I'm still figuring that all out. So right now it's a lot of emailing.
Okay.
And letting people know. Yeah. And sending out our decks and pitching ourselves at this point. But I really want to get to a place where we're doing for ourselves what we do for our clients.
Makes sense. I think, that's one thing common in a lot of agency owners that, we don't actually spend the time that we should on our own brand, our own website, what basically, we should be.
Yeah. And then I often wonder, like, do I want to make it something where it's providing educational content? Are we, I want to be of service in some way. And for me, it just takes a bit of time to come up with exactly what we want the company to say, now that the platforms are pretty much open for us to do whatever we want with it. So maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's where I'm at with it.
I understand. But, what does a typical content marketing team look like? Again, this is, like from, let's say, a business point of view, not from like a agency point of view. Like if somebody had to do like content in-house, what would be the typical team structure?
For content in-house, I mean, it really depends on how big you want your team to be. I mean, I've seen it just start from, social media director. They also sometimes outsource a social media strategist to work directly with the social media director. You have your social media manager, and you'll have your coordinator. You will also have your graphic designer. As well. You'll have a content writer, really depending on, even though you have a social media manager, not all social media managers, for the most part, they are, producing a lot of the content, but some agents, some businesses will have a separate content writer who's also going to be producing content for the website. And so the social media manager would work directly with that person to take that content and then, disperse it into the different platforms. And, and that would just be the bare bones of the team, really depending on how big the business is. You'd have multiple, people on the team. That would be a senior social media manager, a junior social media manager. It's not as easy as people think. It is a very time-consuming job. And then you have people who would be doing customer service portion of the job, right, the community management, which is as important or even more so than the actual posting. Making sure that you're staying engaged with everyone. And if you're a service-based business or something that requires people to buy products and they have questions, then yeah, you're going to need a team for that.
Right. What are your thoughts on AI-driven content?
On what driven?
AI, artificial intelligence.
I think everything should be. I'm not a fan of anything being automated in any way whatsoever. And that might have to change if the e-commerce business continues to grow, because I think it's a necessity in some cases, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's something that I'm a big fan of, probably because I've been working so much all these years with being very hands-on but that's not realistic. So, I'm not sure. I haven't had any clients who have wanted that. They have all been like, either not there yet or not something that they were interested in.
Right. When it comes to, social media, right? I mean, there's always this debate between, the approach of using content as a trigger point to, nurture prospects. And then, like the fight between direct lead gen campaigns on social. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, what is the best strategy or, route to take?
What I didn't understand. What was the last thing, the route to take in which part?
So basically, see, I mean, there's always a fight between, should we kind of create a lot of content on social, promote that content and, kind of create a funnel? Or should we directly kind of, use lead gen campaigns on social, like, direct ad campaigns, basically?
Right. So right now with what's happening is I've had some of these issues with Facebook where we were doing the ads, and we've noticed that there's been a bit of a decline on Facebook recently. I love Facebook. I love doing, we've done lead gens, we've done ads, everything on Facebook. But recently I've noticed that there's been a decline. There have been some changes in Facebook that is causing that, which I'm sure you know of. So right now I'm really encouraging clients to stick with organic content. It has to be valuable content, daily content, video, really pushing organic video. We're still doing the ads, but I push a lot more for authentic, organic content consistently. That's just me. I have the background where I have, and again, it also depends on the business. Are you trying to build a community? Are you trying to build consumers? Are you trying to sell an event? It just really, all of those things would depend on what it is that the business is trying to do. Because I've worked with so many, like I have some clients that are personal brands. For them, I would completely suggest like you need to focus on authentic, organic, content every single day, primarily video. With someone else who's a real estate agent, I would suggest something completely different. I would, suggest for them to create some sort of funnel from their website, change, the homepage, we create ads, and, that's a different service. So it really would depend on who it is that we're working with.
Right, right. How do you plan your social media post calendar? Is there any favorite scheduling tool you use?
I don't have I use Sprout Social for sending that out. For actually preparing everything before it goes on there, we use Google Suite, we use, Google Spreadsheets to put everything in its place, create the calendars there. So I'm a very visual person. So I need to see the content and I need to see the images in the spreadsheet first and how everything is going to look. If my client is very a visual client where the feed has to look very beautiful, we use Unum first. It's called unum.la, and then we'll set everything up there so they can see what their images would look like all pieced together. And I would use an app like Later app, not Later, I'm sorry. Planoly, we would use Planoly for something like that. And I've used Later as well. And then that way it's more visual and they can see if that's like their focus. I use Sprout. One of my favorites, and it's actually the simplest one, is Buffer.
Okay.
I like Buffer. I just feel like it's just super, if you just want to get content out, I think that's one of the better ones that I personally like. But everything we do, we plan everything out first in spreadsheets and docs and create everything for several months in advance. And then we show the client, and the client looks it over, and we make any changes that need to be made, and then we put it into the platforms for scheduling.
Right, right. What is your mantra on responding to negative comments on social media?
Some of them are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are, constructive criticism. If a client isn't happy with something, I feel it's an opportunity for, the client to improve. If it's something really ridiculous, or if it's political or anything like that, then the comments, we would hide something like that. If it's offensive in any way, then, I don't think that there's a place for that. But I do think that, you have to also understand that not everyone is going to enjoy the content, or not everyone is going to be happy with the product. Not everyone enjoyed that event. And I feel like some things just have to stay there. They have a right to say, if they, something wasn't great for them. I mean, you see it all the time, especially with product-based businesses, but that's also really good feedback for the clients as well. Again, right. Unless it's abusive, then there's no place for that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. What are your thoughts on influencer marketing? Does it help every business?
It does not help every business. I believe in the power of influencer marketing. I really, really do. But there's also a lot to be said if you are a business that could create, your own content. The influencer marketing, the part of influencer marketing that would be extremely beneficial is to get eyeballs on other client. And what I mean by it's not always beneficial is because many brands don't really understand influencer marketing, and they want to I want that person that has 3 million followers. That doesn't necessarily mean that person's going to convert for you. That doesn't mean that their audience is going to become, your consumer or your followers. You have to be very strategic when you're using influencers for your brand. They really, really need to fit your brand. And I've been in influencer marketing since 2011. Before they were called influencers. Mm-hmm. And, I've been able to see what works and what doesn't work, and how and curating influencers to fit the brands. It's just such an important step. I've worked with a lot of people or didn't move forward with working with some people because they wanted these macro influencers that, one, they didn't have the budget for.
Right.
Two, didn't have anything to do with their brand whatsoever. I had one person who has their company focused on more like intimacy, and intimacy products. And they really wanted to work with this one influencer who had high numbers, who was a makeup influencer.
Okay.
I'm like, there's a huge disconnect there. I know you like her content, but I don't see how she can fit that into her content. So I think it doesn't work for everyone if it's really not done properly. And if you're looking to just think you're going to go viral, it doesn't necessarily happen that way.
Right.
So,
Talking about looking at influencers and choosing the right influencer for your brand. Also, okay, fine, you can look at the content, you can see what that influencer represents. But, also apart from that, there's also, like this one thing where, you have to be sure that the influencer doesn't have like fake followers. So what are the best ways of spotting, fake followers of influencers?
I don't have it off the top of my head. My team has looked, there's like, apps, some of them are free that you can look to see how many of them are fake or real. And you can also tell. I mean, I see sometimes someone will have like, let's say 50,000 followers, but they'll have like 2 comments, and you can tell it just doesn't make sense. Or you can see a lot of spam comments on there. So sometimes, we don't even need to investigate. We can tell when there's truly an authentic audience. I mean, it's a big difference between when you see an influencer who has a very engaged audience, as opposed to someone who's posting something and I'm like, how did they get 1,000 likes on that picture? It makes no sense, and then there are no comments. So it's not that hard to tell.
Right. Also, how do you decide how much control to have over your influencers? The content and overall like control.
So the brand will say, I want to work with 5 influencers, and these are the messages that we want to send out. This is the campaign that we're working on, or this is the new product. Let's find influencers for that, and then they hire us. I'll send them some influencers that I think would be a good idea, not having talked to them at all, just letting them know these might be a good fit, then we would move forward. In moving forward, part of what our services is, or a big part of our services, is managing that entire campaign. So once we do get the influencers, I send them everything, let them know this is what it entails, this is the pay, this is what you'd have to do. Let me know if that works for you. And it's oftentimes, if it's like a bigger campaign with a larger budget, I'd be working with managers. Right. So I go, back and forth with them, negotiating like, okay, well, they can do, with that budget, we can't do this, but we can do this. And so it takes a lot of negotiating back and forth to make sure that the influencer is also comfortable with what it is that they're being asked to do. And then after that, we prepare the contracts, we contract them, and I have a content director on my team that makes sure that they're doing everything. Because some of these campaigns are actually a little bit more, they're complicated. Like it'll be like, we had one that it was 24 influencers within the span of 12 months, and their content was on different days and they had to do different things. So on one day, 2 people were doing stories, on another day, this person. So I have someone that was just making sure that everything was buttoned up and people were posting when they were supposed to, and they were posting what they were supposed to before the, either the brand sees it or they send it to us prior for approval. To make sure that everything is what we had asked them to do. And then, that's pretty much how it works. Just kind of like doing a QA of everything and being in constant contact with them, because some of these influencers have so many things going on that, they'll forget or, so it's really, that's pretty much just managing the whole thing. But I've had such a long relationship with so many of them, and I've worked with many of them over and over again that, it's been pretty seamless so far.
Right. Well, one, valuable super secret tip that you would give our audience that they could, apply and gain benefits from.
So if there's someone in your audience who is looking to use social media marketing to build their brands, one of the things that I would suggest is to be patient, to develop a strategy, thinking of this as a long-term process and building a community and building a following, coming up with something or working with someone who is really going to be able to sit down and customize something for you. There is no one size fits all. And don't feel like you have to be on every single platform. Choose the platform that at first you feel will work best with your company and start building from there. Because one of the biggest problems I see when you don't hire someone to do this job is consistency and getting frustrated with it.
Right. Well, Rachel, in the end, I like playing a quick rapid fire round of 5 questions.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Um,
You don't have time. You have to
part.
say
I'm like, okay, I don't
whatever
have
comes to your mind.
time. I guess I would say lively, um, smart, and honest.
If a movie was made on your life, what genre would it be?
Probably like a romantic comedy.
The last book you have read.
The full book was Power of Now.
Okay. Okay. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Morning.
If you
Late
could live,
morning.
if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Back in New York, where I'm from.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Rachel. It was a blast having you.
Thank you so much.